Hi, Salika here for Peak Survival. Today we are reviewing items to have in your vehicle. I have with me my good friend David Scott, aka Scotty, and he's done something quite remarkable not too long ago. He drove from London to Mongolia. So I have my pro here who spent 3 months living out of his car, going through all types of weather and terrain. And we're going to go through different items, but he's also going to impart to our viewers some anecdotes of his journey. So tell me, Scott, how far was this journey?
So it was roughly 20,000 miles in total. We went through 26 countries in 3 months, just over 3 months.
Wow.
So we went sort of all the way out through Europe, through the stands, sort of right down to Afghanistan, up into Mongolia, and then all the way back across through Russia.
So I can imagine, obviously, on this journey, some things didn't go according to plan. I bet you've gone through some different challenges, and also the people that did the same rally must have encountered some difficulties. So what are things that you experienced and things that you feel people should have in their vehicles at all time in case of emergency and things like that?
Yeah, so I mean, we were quite fortunate with our car mechanically, but I heard some horror stories about other teams that weren't quite so lucky.
Okay.
We had, we've got stories of people having like 10 flat tires in one day, that sort of thing. So just on the mechanical side of things, definitely things to have in your car if you're doing any sort of extended motor rally would be some tire weld, which is it comes in a tube and it's an instant flat tire fix.
Actually,
if you,
I have here exactly what you're talking about. There you go, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, so as you see, just a small tube here, and you just screw it onto the valve of your flat tire, and it's pressurized. It'll just pump itself in there, and then you just have to inflate the tire and drive for about, I think, 15 kilometers. And as you do that, it spins around inside the tire and creates a seal. And it's not a permanent fix. I'd advise you to get the tire replaced when you can, but it'll do you well for the next few days or so.
Yep.
In conjunction with your tire weld, one of the most useful things you can carry in the car with you is this. It's a portable compressor, and it's also a jump kit. So if you've got a flat battery, you can use this here to jump start your car. And it also has built-in tire compressor. So with your tire weld, it might inflate your tire a little bit, just enough to get you to a garage, but if you need to go further than that, you are going to need to fully inflate the tire. So this here can help you with that. This particular one has a lot of useful features as well. It has on the back here, you can plug it into your car cigarette lighter, and it has an inverter, so you can run mains devices from that. Let's say you've got a portable fridge or something like that. It also has USB sockets here for maybe your phone or any other portable device that you might have. And it also has the inlet port here, so you can charge it from your car cigarette lighter while you're going along, so it's fully charged in case you do need it in an emergency.
And this has actually come in handy because I've had to use it several times in a year, so this is always in my car. So now we're going to get into the belly of the beast and look at all the equipment that you can have in your vehicle. This item is from Rescue Medical Equipment. I actually picked this up at a military surplus store. It's brilliant because you can put so many things in it, roll it up, and just keep it in your car and not think about it until you absolutely need to use these items. So we're going to go through this real quick. Over here we have a siphoning pump. So should you find yourself in a situation where you've accidentally put the wrong fuel in your car, which can happen, or you've run out of fuel but someone's come to help you and you need to siphon some fuel into your tank, we have one of these. There you go. So you connect one end in, put the other end out, pump it. Pretty self-explanatory stuff. So I haven't had to use it yet, but it's in there just in case. Over here we have some foil blankets. We have one here. We have one here. Should you be in a situation where you need them, you have them, or if you happen to break down and you need to stay warm, you have that handy high-vis vest. self-explanatory. We have some tow cords. These are so good. I've actually had to use this before and clip it to another vehicle and bring them to a petrol station. Drive slowly, but just make sure that you're driving safely, and put the hazard lights on so that other drivers around you know what's going on. Over here, we have some binoculars, just in case you want to make sure that you know what's going on around you. You want to keep an eye out for anybody suspicious, or if you're in a survival situation and you need to look for something to hunt. You can try to catch a deer, some rabbits. Obviously, it's dependent on your hunting abilities. We have our jumper cables here, self-explanatory. You connect it to one vehicle and the other, and you jump the car. You may have seen these items before. You have a hand crank radio and light with a feature too where you can press for a panic sound or like a little alarm. This I've talked about quite a few times. It's an LED light, hundreds of hours of light. You also have the flashlight feature, and you have a USB charger for your phone or any other electronic items. We have some rags. You might be doing some dirty oil changes, things like that, so rags are handy. Ratchet strap, that has a little bit more play in it, so you got a bit more flexibility than the other towing options. So it's always good to have backups in case that snaps, you have another one. We have tire weld, which we just reviewed. Duct tape. Duct tape's great for first aid. It's great to fix things temporarily until you can get yourself to a mechanic, or if you have a friend or someone that can help you out. So duct tape, zip ties, fantastic. First aid, we have a first aid kit here. We've reviewed this one before. Antiseptic, afterbite, diarrhea. You never know how long you're going to be in a situation, so that'll keep you hydrated. Emergency burn gels, hand sanitizer, sunscreen, hand wipes. I even have ginger chews for nausea. These are game changing. Personal toiletries, you can just put that in a little bag. Some light reading, so you might find yourself in a situation where you have to deal with a heat wave, a hurricane, blizzard, floods. It talks about lots of different things, the do's and don'ts. So when you're in a situation, you might find yourself panicking and not thinking straight. So sometimes just reverting back to a little cheat sheet like that will help you feel confident and you can make the right decisions. We have a shovel here, this compact shovel. We've reviewed this in previous video. Has lots of different features. It has a compass. There's a tube for extra items that you can put in, like screwdriver bits. You can put waterproof matches, things like that. Obviously, if you lose your phone or your phone dies for whatever reason, or it breaks, you want to be able to still navigate. A compass, a map of the area you're going to be frequenting. We have a notepad and pen. In case you have to leave your vehicle, but you need to communicate, you can leave a message for someone. Or if you're in a situation maybe with your multiple people, and group A is staying with the vehicle and group B is having to go and get some help, you have ways of communicating to one another. What else do we have? Right, Scott, if you want to join me in here, because this is a little bit more your department in terms of what you've had to use and not use during the rally. We have a ratchet set, we have spanners, Allen keys, we have little knives here, there's a fold-out Leatherman, we have a little handsaw.
It's a hacksaw.
A hacksaw,
for
yeah.
Cutting through metal.
Exactly.
Can be very handy in a car.
Absolutely. What else would you recommend really adding to this?
As you said earlier, it's definitely dependent on your mechanical knowledge, but one thing I would definitely recommend would be a decent socket set, because if you're going to do any sort of work on a car by the side of the road, odds are you're going to be taking off lots of nuts and bolts, and just having a decent ratchet socket set is going to save you sort of like hours of messing around with normal spanners. I can't stress as well enough the importance of cable ties and duct tape when it comes to fixing
got my
fixing
cable
things.
ties right here.
Cable ties,
yeah.
These are good sized ones. You
Duct
can
tape.
get cable ties that are this long, this thick, and you get tiny ones. They come in handy for so many different things. We held our roof rack together with cable ties. We held our sump guard on with cable ties after it broke. We held our rear wheel tracking rod end on with cable ties in the Kazakhstani desert. So yeah, really can't stress the importance of those
I
enough.
keep telling people zip ties, cable ties, whatever you call them, and duct tape can.
Oh, you can.
Like,
Yeah.
you can just about fix
No
anything.
end of uses. No end
Exactly.
of uses.
Yeah, fantastic. Right, moving on now to water. We have different options here. So should you find yourself near a murky stream, dirty water, I have a hand pump solution here by Catadine. So that can purify the water, and you can put it into any of the following items. I like these because if you're in a situation where you need to boil the water, you can boil in those containers. I always start with items that are full of water, and then if I have to, I go find other solutions. These bags are collapsible. I have 2 here, have one that's ready, so it gives you an idea of how much water you can fit in that.
So having water in the car is not just important for your own hydration, but also if you're doing any you've got roadside maintenance to think about as well. You might have to top up your wiper reservoir, so it's good to have a big supply of water so you've got enough to do that. Also, if your radiator springs a leak at any point, there's products you can use to actually seal that by the side of the road. Radweld is a well-known one. And then once that's done, you need to obviously top up the radiator. If you haven't got any coolant to put in there, water will do for the time being. So I've heard stories of people cracking eggs into their radiator to seal up holes. I'm not sure if it works. I'm not going to recommend it. I'd say carry some Radweld with you, and then you can use that, and then you can keep the egg for eating.
Yeah, sound advice. Over here we have extra fuses. You never know when something electronically will go awry on the in the car, so I have that. Food and protein, nutritional bars, things like that. Always handy to have. Where do we want to go? Okay, clothing. So obviously if you have a situation where you have to stay in the vehicle overnight, it might get quite cold. So you want to get things that have down, good insulation. You lose up to 50-75% of your body heat through the top of your head. So make sure you have a nice fleece hat here. I have my favorite waterproof breathable seal socks. I love these. I have my waterproof gloves. As I mentioned before, I have circulation issues, so my hands and feet are always cold on a good day. So having good socks, good gloves to protect your hands. I have backup rubber gloves as well, especially if you're having to do some dirty maintenance on the vehicle. You have quite a few packs in there to keep your hands nice and clean. Depending on what scenario you're in, you may have to sleep a couple nights in your car, or if you've packed a bivvy, a tarp, a tent, then based on those options you can create a creative overnight solution. Having good insulation from the ground to keep you warm, a simple air mat. Again, there's different thicknesses. You can pick what you prefer based on space and weight. Having a good stove handy, boil water, cook food. And this one you can put multi-fuels in it, so you're not limited to just one. They're really, really handy. You just pump them to get the pressure right, and then boom, fire. Over here we have Leatherman fire starter. We have a hand saw here. There we go. Really handy. Paracord. Another way to start a fire. With fire, you can do anything. Boil water, cook, save your life. You have heat. Over here, we have a radio. I like this one, and I'll show you, Scotty, this one, because I think this is quite a cool model. Especially where you had a lot of sunshine. It was quite warm, so having that solar feature is quite handy, isn't it? Yeah. So with this one, it's a radio, so you can stay on top of what's going on in the world. You can listen to music. It's great for morale. You also have a flashlight on the side, so it's a great multi-tool in itself. Especially with a situation like a pandemic, you want to know where the hot spots are. You want to know what the updates are, if it's safe to go back home or not. I have a dry bag here because it's really important. We talked about dry bags, putting key items in there to keep everything dry, and there's nothing worse than being in a situation where you're cold or you need specific items and they're completely drenched. So I'm a big advocate for dry bags. Right, Scotty, if you want to join me over here, we have a powder fire extinguisher. Have you had to use it in your journey on the rally?
No, actually, this is the one I took with me to Mongolia. So as I said earlier, we were pretty lucky. So
there you go.
This one's still going strong, but
yeah, quite a journey together.
Yeah, it doesn't take up a lot of space in the boot, but it's one of those things that if you've got it and the worst does happen, it's essential. Like if you've got that there and the car's about to go up in flames, you know, it can make the difference between
There's that
disaster.
saying in the military, right? It's better to have it and not use it than need it and not have it. So,
exactly.
Yeah. Self-explanatory. You always want to have a jerry can, just in case. The essentials, your oils, your screen wash, all the things that your car generally needs for maintenance, have that handy. This is a cool little tool. Some of you might not know this, iPow. So I have this in my car at all times, and if you find yourself in an accident and you need to cut the strap of your seat belt, you can, and remove yourself from the vehicle, and with this end, break the glass and save yourself. Not expensive, doesn't take up much space, and it's always in the side panel of my door on both the passenger and the driver's side. So yes, have this in your car at all times. We have a hazmat suit. In situations like what we're going through right now with a pandemic, you don't know who you're going to have to interact with, what building you're going to have to go into. So having a good Tyvek hazmat suit, or even higher grade if you have your hands on anything better, have that with you. I have a really good gas mask here with spare canisters. Some heavy duty latex gloves, and obviously you need to have your appropriate footwear. We have our emergency triangle to signal to other vehicles if there's a situation or if you need help. And I have here, and this is optional, this takes up more space and it's heavy. However, if you find yourself in a situation where you're going to have to evacuate and you need to have a little bit more comfort, you can have a camp bed, which Scotty lived with for many months.
That was my my mattress for 3 months.
Yeah, so he had this, he had a tarp, he had a tent, so depending on the weather conditions you can go between them and have that flexibility. Or you cannot have the bed and opt for a bivy solution. So again, you want to tailor these based on your geographical location, where you're going, how many people, and what your car generally needs. So Scotty, thank you so much for joining me again.
No worries.
And stay tuned for more videos from Peak Survival.